Alrighty, the time has finally arrived. We are here at Module 3 where it's time to get into the good stuff. How do you actually grow a YouTube channel, and how do you go about coming up with videos, recording them, editing, uploading, thumbnails, all that good stuff? That's what we're about to cover. Today is Module 3. And today, like I just mentioned, the three main focuses are, first and foremost, YouTube growth strategies. How do you actually get more subscribers? How do you actually get more views? What do you need to know? We're then going to be covering the workflow that I use and that I recommend you use for your own entire process, all the way from coming up with the idea to posting the video and actually having it go live. And then we're going to talk about scheduling and reusing content for your success. Today is going to be heavy on the content and the strategy, so make sure you pull out a pen and a piece of paper because we're about to get into all of the information that you need to know. All right, so the growth strategies. How do you actually get more subscribers and more views on YouTube? One thing that you will be pleasantly surprised to learn, especially if you are used to other social networks like Instagram or TikTok, is that YouTube isn't as big on the whole hacks thing. Instagram and TikTok seem to be all about the latest and greatest strategy and the new algorithms and hashtags and trending audios and all that fluff. On YouTube, it really comes down to the essential ingredients. If I'm thinking about it like a restaurant, it's just really, is your food good or not? But of course, there are a few nuances to that strategy. So let's talk through, how do you actually grow on YouTube? What do you need to know? And how can you set yourself up for success? The first thing is that I want to recommend that you focus on quantity first, quality second, both third. What do I mean by that? What does this phrase mean? Quantity first. It essentially means practice. You might be in module 3 right now and you're feeling overwhelmed. You're stressing yourself out already about what your channel is going to look like, what are your videos going to sound like, and maybe you're even comparing yourself to other channels that are out there and other videos that you have already watched. I'm going to encourage you to please stop and instead just hit record. Like I said way back at the very beginning of this masterclass, I posted my first YouTube video well over a decade ago. And since then, I've posted hundreds of YouTube videos, hundreds of trainings, hundreds of live videos, hundreds of Instagram Reels and TikTok videos. I've been creating content consistently for over 10 years. So I don't want you to compare where you're at today to where I am after 10 plus years of doing this. Instead, I want you to focus on practicing. I want you to focus on showing up. I want you to just press record. Even if you don't have all the best equipment, even if you don't have everything figured out yet, start with the quantity, start with the practice, and over time, you will improve. Learning from each video, learning from your mistakes, improving slightly from video to video. That is how you will ultimately create quality, which is why I say quality second. Quantity first, quality second. Once you have quantity under your belt, you understand things like consistency. You understand your flow. You've been creating videos for a few months or maybe even a few years. Then you can really start to hone in on the quality. How do I improve this video compared to the one before it? What slight tweaks can I make to my setup, my hardware, my equipment to improve my quality? And then both third refers to the final stage of YouTube growth and success, which is once you have practiced and you've improved your quality, you now know how to make a great video and you can do so week after week after week. That is when we're going to be doing both at the same time. And so I know it might sound simple. I know it might sound like there needs to be some crazy magical strategy, but truly the best advice is to stay consistent. The best advice is to focus on quantity first, quality second, and both third. Because yes, having quality videos matters. Absolutely. People aren't going to watch videos if they're not high quality. However, in my opinion, the way that you get there, the way that you actually create high quality videos is you create a lot of really crappy first takes, a lot of really bad rough drafts. You practice and you show up. You focus on showing up and you focus on the quantity first and the quality second, so you can focus on both third. That's the first strategy. The second growth strategy for YouTube is that the title and the thumbnail are pretty much everything. Now, they aren't the only things that matter. They aren't truly 100% of what matters. But if I had to put a percentage on it, I would say that your title and your thumbnail are responsible for 90 to 95% of your channel's success. Later on, as we're talking about workflow, we're going to talk about how to plan a title, what makes up a good thumbnail, and some things that you should keep in mind. But truly, the title and the thumbnail are everything. And I say that because there are millions upon millions of videos on YouTube. There are almost millions of videos uploaded every single day. The way that you get your video found is first and foremost through the title. The title determines who the video is shown to, who it's recommended to, what searches your video shows up in. That's all based off the title. It also, of course, can create some interest as to what your video is about. The thumbnail is once someone is shown your video, once they are recommended your channel, what are they clicking on? As we talked about when we were reviewing the YouTube Studio, there is a statistic called impression click-through rate, which is, like I said in that video, essentially of the 100 people shown this video, recommended this video, how many of them actually clicked on it? And the clicking on the video is oftentimes based off the thumbnail. So the title and the thumbnail are as essential as it gets. If you're thinking of short form videos like Reels or TikToks, we might say that the hook is the most important part. On YouTube, the title and the thumbnail are your hook. They are your opportunity to grab attention, to stop the scroll, and to get someone to click. Strategy number 3 for growing on YouTube is that SEO is how you grow. And hopefully you can remember that because it rhymes. SEO relates to the title, but it also relates to your channel, your description, your video description, and all of that, which can include keywords, which again, we will talk about. We will get into that more in Module 4 and Module 5. But SEO is really how you get your content discovered. YouTube, at the end of the day, is a search platform. It is the world's second biggest search engine, and it is owned by Google, which is the world's biggest search engine. And that is why YouTube SEO is so important. SEO stands for search engine optimization. So essentially, we need to optimize our videos by using keywords and phrases to make sure that our videos are showing up in search results and that they are recommended to the people who want to actually watch our videos. So SEO is everything. And depending on what you title your video, what keywords you include in your description, what tags you place on your video will help determine whether or not your video shows up first in the search results or 10th or on the 10th page, never to actually be viewed. So again, we're going to go more in depth into SEO in one of our future modules, but SEO nonetheless is hugely important. Strategy number 4 for success on YouTube is batching and scheduling. YouTube content is a lot. And it is a lot of work. That's probably one of the biggest reasons why you haven't been consistent on YouTube so far, or maybe you've even been scared of posting on YouTube, because admittedly, it is the platform that requires the most work. Compared to a 7-second Instagram video or a 14-second clip on TikTok, or even a photo that you're posting on Instagram or Facebook or Pinterest, posting a 14-minute long or a 17-minute long or even just an 8-minute long YouTube video can be a lot more work. It's a lot more time. It oftentimes requires a lot more editing, a lot more hours, a lot more planning and forethought. And so YouTube can be a lot of work. And that's why before you even launch your YouTube channel, before you even announce to the rest of your followers on other platforms that they should subscribe to your YouTube, before you even publish your first YouTube video, I recommend having at least 3 to 4 videos that you already have completely done and ready to go. So when you launch that first video, you already have basically a month's worth of videos scheduled ahead of time. So you are planned out a month in advance. It's like being a month in advance on your homework or your workload or whatever it is, so that you can take a deep breath and truly take your time to refine and improve your future videos without having to be stressed about getting your next video filmed, recorded, edited, and all of that stuff. So batch and schedule, and we're going to talk about that again a little bit more when we get into actual workflow. And then last but not least, reusing content. Reusing content. You would be surprised how many different ways you can take a YouTube video, splice it up, and post it a second time, ways that you can take live videos and turn them into YouTube videos, ways that you can take podcast episodes that you've recorded in the past and turn them into YouTube videos, even take short form content like TikToks and Reels and turn them into YouTube videos. We're going to talk more about that in the future, but reusing content is a strategy that not a lot of people are taking full advantage of on YouTube, and it can be a huge difference maker in helping you increase your output without needing you to do more on the input. But with all of these strategies out of the way, let's hop into the actual workflow. And this is the flow that I use and that I recommend you use for creating your YouTube videos. First and foremost, everything starts with the title. Like I showed you on the last slide, the title and the thumbnail are everything. They are what's most important in terms of getting your views and growing your channel. So we're going to start there. We're not going to plan the title last, which is what most people do. We're going to start with the title. Like I just said, most people will film a video and then they'll think, what could I title it? Instead, I've found it most effective to start with the title, to come up with what is this video going to be about? What is the hook? What is the point? What is the tip that I'm sharing? What is the story about? What's the moral of the story? What is the big moment as to why someone should watch this vlog? These are all things that I'm thinking about before I even press record, before I even plan out the video, before I do anything. I am thinking of the title. Now, when it comes to actually coming up with a title, what makes a good title? I have a few tips and things to remember. Number one, get ideas from others. Success leaves clues. So if you want to make a video about rock climbing tips for beginners, I might search in the YouTube search bar, rock climbing tips for beginners, or just rock climbing tips, or even just rock climbing. And then I will read the other titles that people have used. I will look for trends. I will see if there is any sort of naming convention that a lot of people are using. I will see if there's a word that is appearing in every single video. Like maybe people are using newbie instead of the word beginner. Maybe instead of saying beginner rock climbing tips, people are saying day one rock climbing tips or simple rock climbing tips. What specific words are people using in their titles? And feel free to get inspiration from other videos. My second tip for you to come up with video titles is to simply use the free download of title ideas that is included in this masterclass. I created a guide that has 25 title recommendations for you, and they're kind of Mad Lib style, if you will. So you can essentially just plug in the nouns and the verbs that relate to your specific niche and channel, and you basically have 25 title ideas already done for you. If you mix and match and change up, you could really create an infinite amount of titles from this list of 25, and that should give you a huge jump start when it comes to coming up with titles. And then number three, or I guess letter C, I should say, for coming up with titles is to use tools like vidIQ or TubeBuddy for recommendations. These are two very popular YouTube analytics softwares that you can use to get recommendations and title suggestions for your YouTube videos. But again, we are going to start with the title. And then step number two in our workflow is we are going to work backwards. So once you have the title of your video planned out, the next step is to design the thumbnail. And when it comes to the thumbnail, I want you to, again, look at the competition. What are other people including in the thumbnails? I can tell you this, generally speaking, thumbnails should be simpler rather than complex. And you should remember the rule of three when it comes to your thumbnail. Your thumbnail should never have more than 3 elements. And by element, I mean different parts of the photo. So your thumbnail might have a photo of you going, because you're surprised in the video. That's one element, the cutout of your face being surprised. The second element might be what you're looking at. Maybe you're looking at a house or a car or a dolphin or whatever. That's the second element. Then if you do want to add a third, remember a maximum of 3 elements, maybe there's the word wow up at the top of the screen, or maybe it was crazy vacation, or I couldn't believe it, something very short and simple. as text to be that third element. But generally speaking, when it comes to your thumbnails, you want 3 elements or fewer, and you want them to be very simple, because you have to remember a lot of people who are watching YouTube are doing so on their phone, which is a very small screen for viewing, and that thumbnail gets shrunken down even smaller than a postage stamp. So if you're putting a lot of text, or you're expecting people to be able to view this like complex dynamic image with lots going on, it's going to be really hard to do on the phone. So you really want to keep your thumbnails simple. I recommend using something like Photoshop or Canva to design your thumbnails, or even outsourcing your thumbnail design to a professional graphic designer to keep them simple and to use no more than 3 elements. Those are my tips. And again, look at the competition, look at what other people are doing, look at the thumbnails that other people are using for their videos to give you inspiration for your own. And you can even just Google the words you're going to use. So rather than searching on YouTube, beginner rock climber tips, I might go on Google and search beginner rock climber tips and just look at the Google images that pop up. Are there certain things that I'm seeing in every image? Is there some icon that I hadn't considered using that very clearly is closely tied to the terms that I've searched for? Using Google Images is a nice little bonus tip if you're struggling to come up with thumbnail ideas. But once you've got the thumbnail planned out and even created, the second part of working backwards is planning the hook. Now, the hook of your YouTube video is generally anything from the first sentence through the first minute, maybe the first 90 seconds of your video. Basically, the opening of your video. This is your opportunity to grab someone's attention. I generally find it's most effective to tell them what to expect in the video, kind of preparing them for however long the rest of the video is and giving them some sort of expectations of where this video is headed. The opening of your video is the most important part of the video because yes, someone clicked on your video, but you only have the first minute or so to really win them over to watch the rest of your video. They've made the decision to click, and now it's on you to actually convert that momentary attention into more of a long-term investment into watching the rest of your video. And so I use the word plan here because I truly believe that you should either script out the first 1 minute of your video, or at least have a well-versed plan as to what you're going to say at the beginning of your video. What is the first minute going to look like? And you want to make sure that it's very attention holding and attention grabbing to make sure that people are sticking with your video. C, the third step in working backwards, is bullet point or storyboard the rest of the video. So like I said, you're going to plan or even fully script the first minute or the first 90 seconds. Anything after that, I believe that it puts too much pressure on yourself to fully script out the whole YouTube video, because then you feel like you have to be perfect and stick to the script. So instead, I like to do what's called storyboarding or even bullet pointing, where I'm just kind of making notes about the general path that I want to follow, but it allows me a little bit more freedom and flexibility and creativity to kind of go down other little rabbit holes or take the video in a slightly different direction. But at least I'm still going in the general vicinity of where I was planning on going in the first place. And then once you have those 3 things done, you're going to have a pretty good idea of the video as a whole. So at that point, you can write the video description, which you will actually use as your YouTube description. Like you will actually type it in or copy and paste it when you're uploading the video. Now, it's not totally necessary to write the description at this point, but I do find it's helpful just as a way to, for your own sake, summarize the video and make sure that everything is coherent. Make sure that if there is a problem, you have a solution. Make sure that the story is wrapped up. There's a climax and a resolution, all that good stuff. You can save writing the description for the time when you're actually uploading the video, but I find it's useful to do it during the planning stage. I should also add that SocialPilot makes it very easy for you to basically have your descriptions written for you by their AI assistant. All you have to do when you are creating your post is go up here to the AI assistant page, and then it will ask, what do you want to generate? And then we'll give you a few different templates that you can choose from. I usually just go with general post for this one. And then you can see it says, compose a a concise and engaging general social media post based on the topic/outline, adhering to the following guidelines. Ensure that the post is simple, concise, and engaging, no more than 150 words, and include 2 relevant hashtags related to the post content. I oftentimes will go up here, and instead of having it say general social media post, I will have it say general YouTube post. And then I will just paste my outline here, or kind of just write some bullet points. If I ahead of time kind of outlined what I wanted my video to be about before I recorded that, I could paste it right here. Then once that's done, you're just going to select the tone that you want the description to be in. It doesn't matter too much, but I do think it's important to pick a tone that fits the video and how you typically present and talk about things. I think I'm generally a pretty excited person, so I'm going to do excited and then just press generate. Just give it a second to think, and usually within a few minutes, you'll have a pretty decent AI output that you can use as your video description. Then I like to just copy that output, go back to the post itself, and paste it into the description. Then once you're done with your plan and you've successfully worked backwards to design the thumbnail, plan the hook, write out bullet points, write the description, all of that, then we can move on to step 3. And step number 3 is to film the actual video. Like I talked about earlier, quantity first, quality second, both third. So even though I know you might be feeling some imposter syndrome, some fear of imperfection, and any other negative self-talk that might be going on in your head, I want to encourage you to just rip off that Band-Aid. Just press record. Just start. Your first video is going to be bad. I'm saying it right now. Do not expect your first video to be good. Your first video is going to be bad. Your 10th video is probably still going to be bad. Eventually, your 50th video or your 100th video is going to be a little bit better. I wish I could show you some of my first takes of my first video when I was 12 years old. It was really, really bad. But now, over the last 15 years, I've been slowly but steadily improving. So I know that there is a lot of information I'm sharing with you. I'm giving you a lot of tips and strategies. Ultimately, set up your camera and press record. Put your phone on that tripod and hit the record button. Just press record, just get started. It will be a lot easier once you actually get into the flow of things, and it will be more natural. But at first, it's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be scary, and that is totally okay. Part of filming, though, some things to remember is, number 1, audio and lighting are key. Yes, like I mentioned in module number 1, your camera quality can definitely make a difference. The biggest difference makers are audio and lighting. So I want you to pay attention to the way shadows are hitting your face, the overall lighting of your video. Is it well lit? Is it too dim? Is it too bright? And the biggest thing that people do not pay attention to is audio. Even a cheap or inexpensive microphone can make such a big difference in your audio. And audio is half of the content for a YouTube video. I know we call it a YouTube video, and so we focus all on the visual part of the video, but part of YouTube videos is the audio, the actual sound of the video, whether it's the background music, the sound effects, the sound of your voice, a voiceover, you talking to the camera, whatever. The audio makes a huge difference, and audio is half of video. So make sure that audio is not an afterthought when you are filming. Make sure you're filming in a quiet environment that doesn't have an echo and that uses an external microphone if you have one. The second thing to consider when you are filming, record until you get it right, not until you get it perfect. Now, of course, this might not pertain to every single style of video you can make, but let's say you are filming a direct-to-camera talking video, kind of like I am right now. Rather than doing take 7, 8, 9, 10, and just keep refilming your videos until you get them perfect, I simply record until I get it right. And right just means good enough. Right means I said what I wanted to say generally, and I'm happy with the way it sounded. I think that people will understand the point. Now, could any video be improved? Yes, every video could be improved. And that's the point. Because every video always has room for improvement, if your goal is perfect, you're never actually going to post the video because you're going to be stuck forever recording and re-recording and re-recording and re-recording. So instead, what I like to do is I have my bullet points, I have my outline, I know where I want my video to go, I know the direction I want to head in. And as long as I generally get there, as long as I do it pretty much right, then I stop recording. I don't force myself to re-record until I get it perfect. And then the third thing I want you to consider in filming, and this is really specifically for people who are talking directly to the camera or putting their face in the video, is something called headspace. Now, there's so many nuances that we could go into in proper framing and wide shots and close shots and B-roll and all of this stuff. But the one quick tip that I want to share with you is something called headspace. As you're looking at this video right now, this is proper headspace. You can see there's a little bit of room above my head. My head is above the midline of the video. Like if we were to draw an imaginary line right here, it's above the midline. This is the typical traditional layout of a direct-to-camera talking head video. If my head was down here and I was dead center, it would make me feel smaller, right? If you were to watch a video and I was like this, there's too much headroom up here. It makes me feel small and it doesn't have the same impact as if I'm up here. Now, at the same time, if I'm too far up and I'm getting cut off, now it feels like the video is too cropped in, you're too invasive of my space. So when you are framing up your video, leave a little bit of room above your head, but still make sure that your head is above the midline of the frame. And then once you are done filming your video, it's time to edit your video. That's step 4 in the workflow. Of course, I've said this a few times, outsourcing your editing is the biggest time saver. Like if I would recommend spending your money on anything, rather than buying a $700 fancy camera, I would recommend using that $700 towards an editor who's going to edit and, refine and perfect your videos before you actually post them. Outsourcing the editing is such a time saver, and it will help you, hopefully in turn, make money in the future. But if you can't outsource, then my tip for you is to use audio as your guide. This is something that I've learned over the years of editing my own videos. And let me hop into my own editing software to show you how I use audio as my guide. So right here is the editing app that I like to use. And I actually prefer to use CapCut, which is what I use for a lot of my short form video, but I oftentimes use it for long form YouTube videos as well. And this bar right here is what's known as your timeline. I'm going to make this full screen so that you can see it. I'm going to walk you through how I quickly edit using the audio on the timeline. All right, so here we are in CapCut, and it might be a little small, but you can see the audio wave files down here at the bottom. These little mountains or little spiky things, that represents the audio that I was speaking. Well, I can see right here that there was a big dead space where I wasn't speaking. So rather than watching and editing this entire clip, instead I can assume that the final section of audio was the one that I did correctly, because remember, I record until I get it right. So I can just trim off any piece of the video that took place before this final audio section. I'll just delete that. So I can assume I did this whole part of the video right before this dead space right here where there's no audio. So I will again just trim it and delete the section where there was no audio. That's a way that you can hopefully speed up your editing and just make it go a little bit faster so you don't have to watch and rewatch every single second that you did. You can essentially just look for the breaks in the audio, delete any parts of the audio where you aren't speaking, and assume anything that came right before the long dead period was a right or correct take. So again, use audio as your guide. And then my third tip for editing your videos is to follow what's called the 2-second rule. The 2-second rule is a rule that comes from TV and movies that essentially says there should be some sort of cut or change every 2 seconds. And I know this might sound crazy if you've never heard about this or realized this before, but the next time you go to watch TV or a movie, pay attention to how long each scene is. And I bet it'll usually be around 2 seconds long. You can count it out loud. Every single 2 seconds, they're cutting to a new camera angle. There's new text on screen. There's some sort of transition or effect. Something is happening or changing every 2 seconds. Now, when you're first getting started, YouTube video number 1, it's going to be hard to follow the 2-second rule. But eventually, as you improve as an editor, you're going to start to incorporate more things like B-roll, stock footage, titles, transitions, effects, maybe even a second angle so that you can incorporate the 2-second rule and thus make your videos more dynamic, more engaging. And that helps people watch the video for longer, thus increasing their watch time, their watch rate, and thus YouTube will say, this is a good video. People are watching it for a long time. They have a high watch rate, so let's make sure more people see this video. Then step number 5 is to upload your video. Now, you can either upload your video and have it posted immediately, or you can upload it and have it scheduled. Either way, you can do this in both SocialPilot and on YouTube itself. I'm going to give you a quick tutorial on how to do each. To upload your video right in YouTube, all you have to do is press the plus in the upper right corner and then upload a video. Then you can either drag your video file in right here or select the files directly from your computer's drive. Once the video uploads, you'll be able to type your title into the first line, your description into the description bar. You'll be able to upload a file that includes your thumbnail, which we talked about earlier. You'll be able to add your video to any playlist if you have playlists, but of course, since you're just getting started, you don't. It will ask you if your video is made for kids, and you should always click no unless you are specifically making kids entertainment content. You don't need to set an age restriction, but you should click that no, it is not made for kids. Then just hit next. On this page, you'll be able to add what are called video elements, which are essentially clickable buttons onto your video. We aren't going to worry so much about this right now, but just know that this is a useful feature, and oftentimes it is added automatically by YouTube. Then we are going to press next, and this is our checks, where YouTube automatically checks to make sure that there are no copyright violations or issues, such as using a song that you don't own the rights to. And then finally, just hit next one more time, and you'll be able to select whether you want the video to be private, unlisted, or public. And of course, public is where anyone can see it. And if you set as public, you also have the option to set as an instant premiere, which basically means anyone who's on YouTube at the exact moment that you post the video can watch the video as if it's live, as if it is debuting for the first time. It doesn't allow them to fast forward if you are set as an instant premiere. And it's more of an advanced feature, something that you should turn on once you have a larger audience. It's less important right now, but it is helpful nonetheless to know what it is. You can also schedule the video to be published at a future date by clicking the schedule button, and then you can select the exact day and time of your video, and you can even set it up as a premiere at that date. Once you're done setting all this up, all you have to do is press schedule. To schedule your YouTube video right in SocialPilot, it is also very simple and easy to do. All you have to do is come over here to the posts button and then tap create posts. Then I'm just going to upload the video that I want. I can add the title for said video, the description. I can set it as public, private, or unlisted, and I can schedule it for any future date that I may want. There are also advanced settings that I control, such as the content category, whether or not I have special licensing rights and ownership for the video, any video tags, and any video playlist. I can also check whether I want to allow embedding, publish to subscription feed, and notify subscribers, whether or not it's made for kids, and all of the same channel controls and video controls that I would otherwise have on YouTube. I can easily do all of this right from within SocialPilot. And then last but not least, organize and repost. And this is one of the big reasons that I'm a fan of using SocialPilot to plan your content, is that then it's on your calendar with all of your other scheduled posts for all of your other scheduled platforms. And you're able to see when are things going live, when are things being published, when are Instagram Reels being posted to promote the YouTube video, and making sure that they aren't posted before the YouTube video is posted. So that's one of the reasons that I would recommend using SocialPilot to schedule and plan things in advance. And it also makes it easier to look back and see your content from the past. Speaking of content from the past, I told you that we would talk about reposting. One of the best things that you can do on YouTube is take content that you have already filmed and simply post it again, or clean it up a little bit, refine the editing, change up a few things, maybe swap out the hook and post it a second time, especially if it's a video that would be relevant now, but it maybe wasn't relevant in the past. Or maybe it was relevant in the past and now it's relevant again. Those are great opportunities to take old content and reuse it. Another way you can take old content is to take things from Instagram live videos or TikToks that you've shared or Instagram Reels and turn them into YouTube videos by simply taking a collection of your Reels or your TikToks or your lives, putting them all together and sharing them on YouTube. Here's a look inside my SocialPilot calendar. And as you can see, it's very easy to schedule posts and see in this calendar view when different posts are being posted. and when the specific videos are scheduled to be shared. I love that you can easily just drag things to different days to reorganize. You can click into the individual video to see the specific time and see a little preview of the video. You can even click on and rewatch the video just to make sure it's the one that you're thinking of. And overall, just using this calendar makes things very efficient and easy to track and manage all of your content that you're going to be uploading to YouTube. And SocialPilot has some really cool advanced features that you can use as well. To plan on a post for this date, all I have to do is click on the date, upload the video that I want to be shared, and then I can schedule the post for the future, or I can save it as a draft, which is really helpful when you're not quite done with a post and you want to come back to it in the future, or have one of your team members come in and finish up the rest. One of my favorite features for repurposing your content, which makes it very easy to find content that is related to the same topic and easily reshared in the future, is with this button right here that is called tags. These are internal tags that allow you to categorize your content within SocialPilot, and these aren't the tags that are going to be applied to the actual YouTube video on YouTube, but it makes it very easy, like I said, to say, oh, hey, this video, it has beginner tips, and I also talk about some summer gear. So then you can add those tags, and then in the future, if you're ever looking for videos that share beginner tips or that have references to summer gear, it's very easy to sort for and find this video. Then all you gotta do is hit save and then press save as a draft or schedule post. Again, I know I gave you a lot of information today, but I want to go back to the idea of quantity first, quality second, both third. Just get started. Just press record. That's my biggest piece of homework that I can give you right now before you even move on to module 4, where we're going to talk about mastering SEO. I want to encourage you to film your first YouTube video. Start with the title, work backwards to plan the rest of the video. Just hit record and get ready to post. It will be sloppy. It will be messy. It will be imperfect, but it will be a step in the right direction. So just get started, and I will see you in module number 4.